What's going on, y'all? The past podcast, the past is back again. It's your host BT. I was unsure whether I would or wouldn't be doing an episode today. A lot of things came up. Life happens, and you just kind of got to go through transitions. So that's kind of causing me to have a bit of a, I guess you can call it a change of scenery. So number one, first and foremost, I'm not at my normal location that I usually record. So I hope you all bear with me on that. It's not a big thing. You all wouldn't notice. I'm usually going to be one who notices stuff like that. But even in noticing it, it's not like a huge impact or a huge impede. Sorry if y'all heard the headphone adjustment, but I just want to make sure I had them on correctly. But I wanted to, so I'll go ahead and let y'all know, because y'all know I'm always transparent whenever I do my weekly episodes. This will possibly be the last episode of the past for the month of July. Next week, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. As far as doing my weekly sports topics, you may as well say last week's episode was the last one. I'm going to do one on the final week of July with a few cohorts of mine. I've mentioned this in a couple of episodes, but I do want to emphasize it again. This is just kind of a icebreaker and just kind of sit down, just to have a little one-on-one chat with everyone and kind of touch the surface and, talk about a few things and I have a topic that I'm going to share, but I also have some things that I'm just kind of in my little, I ain't gonna say in my headspace about, but I'm just kind of in my feelings about and just trying to work on doing. And I'm not expecting, as I always tell y'all and as I always mention, I'm not looking for any pity or any sorrow. It's just me hopping on the mic and kind of just talking. So I will say, my co-host, like I said, so he had his, as the saying goes, life happens, and he had things going on. So he was unable to, we weren't able to kind of collab on doing a show this week. And I kind of forecast and prepare as, hey, if he's able to help me, he's able to help me. And if not, show must go on. I was initially going to go ahead and do the full show. I had things that I was working on this morning. I'm also helping someone else with attempting to start their podcast. Was supposed to attempt to help with that today. That didn't happen. So I ain't gonna say it was like an across the board like rough day, because it wasn't. Like, not all days that seem bad are bad. Like, there are good things that can come. It's just what you make out of those good things that happen. And that's kind of the best way to describe or address it. I will say this, and I'm gonna mention this. So I'm gonna kind of give what I have as a topic today. And before I continue, because I always like to remember, so if you haven't noticed, because I'm going to go ahead and make it clear, there will be no intro or outro for this week's episode. I'm just going to kind of jump right into talking and just kind of let y'all know how I feel about a few things. But the podcasts, as always, are posted on Spreaker.com. If you want to listen to any new episodes or previous episodes, by all means, go to the page, check it out. You might enjoy what you hear. I have shared, and I always like to remind, past podcast is officially live. So I do have that page up and running, working on getting previous posts shared and get that kind of up to speed. No, that's going to take a little while, so I'm just letting that kind of happen too. And of course, this beautiful voice that you hear on the mic is thanks to the Blue Yeti microphone. Blue microphone, I've been wanting their products for a while. A couple of years ago, when I first was looking at doing podcasts, and this is kind of podcasting background, I had my eyes like stuck and locked into getting a Blue Snowball. I knew the Yeti was what I really was after, but I also knew that I didn't have the money to do it at the time. So I was kind of gung-ho about getting a Snowball. I ended up getting the Samson Meteor. We had our moment, and here I am now with the Blue Yeti, and I don't have a regret towards it, especially by getting the case for it. As I tell anybody with anything, if it's something that you're carrying and it's something that you use frequently, aka cell phones, MP3 players, tablets, microphones, computers, get a case. Always get a case. And if it applies, get a screen protector. So those are my tidbits and 2% of information to share with you all. Like I said, I have a bit of a two-part with this, and this is also kind of a news flash and a heads up to kind of make me just be who I am as a podcaster. Today, my message, and I had this message shared with me a couple of days ago, but it's really started to stick out. It's kind of come to full fruition today, and I'm not going to give the full details of what happened, but I'll kind of summarize it in a simple way. I was helping someone move today, and in the process of helping them move, they were able to kind of bless me in a sense with helping them and moving, which I was very appreciative of. And after helping them move, I kind of was on this gun-ho focus of, all right, I'm hot, I'm tired, I'm sweaty. I need to get to some 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee. I'm not going to go in. Well, as a matter of fact, this is my podcast. I'm going to do what I want. Shoot. I ended up getting I always do what's called an adult setup. I introduced a couple of people to it, and it's kind of been my tradition for about almost a year. One of my coworkers, she kind of knows very well about it. But you basically get a Slurpee, put your preferred alcohol in it, and you balance it out where it's not too much alcohol, but you also still get your Slurpee consumption or whatever. But I went to this particular 7-Eleven, and I went in just to get a Slurpee and leave. I wasn't gonna get any snacks. Really didn't need anything else. It just kind of was like, I'm thirsty, and I know I want to get this done. So I sit, and I'm in there, and the girl, she's behind the desk. She's behind the counter. She's ringing people up. This lady in front of me, she's asking her if she had a cell phone. Now, I'm listening, but I'm not listening, because she's already rung up what I had ordered for the Slurpee and was getting ready to, ask me a couple of things. She was like, you don't have a phone, do you? I was like, not that I know of. I may have one. I'll check real quick and come back. So she was under the impression and assumed that I was actually going to go to my car and not come back in to give her the phone. Little did she know that when I went in my car, I happened to have a phone that I previously had with Sprint. Had it for a while. I think I've pretty much reset it enough to the point where there's practically nothing on it. You could probably put it on Wi-Fi. You may have to, at the most, it would probably need a battery. And I mean, you can get a battery for that type of phone with no problem. As I always tell, going back to what I mentioned earlier, screen protector case and a phone. Screen protector case and a battery in this case, the phone will work just like it is, just like new. It's just a matter of how much usage the individual puts toward the phone. So when I came back, I gave her the phone, and she was kind of caught off guard because she really didn't know or was surprised that I actually came back. So this then ties into what I have shared and what I have been taught to do and what I'm learning to do more often. And I'm not, a lot of people who know me and anyone, even where I'm at doing my episode today, I'm a giving person. I always like to help other people. I'm always looking to do the right thing for somebody else. Well, a lot of times blessings do come to me as well, and things do happen for me under different circumstances. So in most situations or in most obstacles or most moments, I'm usually willing to accept that there are moments that it's beneficial to pay it forward. And I feel like we as people, we pay it forward when we find it beneficial. And I think that's the mistake, that's kind of the groove or the turn that's kind of been gone wrong, is that we should always, under any circumstances, whether we like it or not, we should be willing to do our best in paying it forward. So I'll tell it like this: if you have the opportunity to, and a moment comes that something good has happened for you, embrace that moment, be thankful for it, appreciate it, but do something kind and just to somebody else and help someone that's able to be helped. Now, also, there's asterisks and there's side loops to that as well, because some people will sit and say they need help, and in reality, they really don't need help. So you got to keep those individuals in mind as well. I share that to kind of tie into my next story, and I'm going to be transparent, but I'm not going to point fingers, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm addressing who does or doesn't do specific types of shows or topics or whatever the case may be. Since I've been doing podcasting, I've kind of watched and helped others with kind of getting into their swing of things. And I want it to be clear, and I want it to be made evident that if podcasting is something that you're looking to do and you want to address it with me, I will help you do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. And I might throw J through P in as a wild card. So if those things are being done on my end and helping, I just want you to do your part. And your part is basically to show up and show out. And I get it. The key factor for a lot of people is scheduling, timing, life emergencies, personal situations. Things come up. Like, as I mentioned today, a lot of things have been going on with me today that a lot of folks wouldn't even know if I was to address or talk about it offline. So I'm sharing all of that, and I'm saying all of that just to say to you all, make the most of what you have and don't get bent out of shape if things don't go, quote unquote, according to plan. There are going to be times that life is going to treat you great, and there are going to be times when life is going to kind of, it's almost like life hands you lemonade so you make lemons. I don't know what, I guess the other side of it would be life hands you peaches so make tea. I don't know. I feel as though and this is down, like my craft or my skill is something that I've had to build and grow over time. Usually everyone sees the end result and they assume that it was a success just on its own and it just kind of happened. But the reality is a lot of what I've done and a lot of where I'm at with what I'm doing came or has come with time. It's come with time, it's come with lessons, it's come with not doing small things. Like I'm the guilty party of letting people know. When I used to do my blogs, I always tell my blogging story because I always feel like this is relevant to this situation or to this story. Blogs, when I first used to do them, I would just write them and post them, and I didn't care what it sounded like, how it looked, how it sounded, nothing, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter to me. All I wanted was to write the blog and share it because I had something on my mind I needed to get off my chest. Didn't think about the fact that I need to draft it a few times, proofread it, make sure it kind of flows with an actual storyline, things of that nature. So now, as time has progressed, I will invest that extra 2 or 3 minutes just to make sure that it sounds like it's supposed to sound. Even with me doing podcasts, a lot of people don't know with most programs, with podcasting with me, I've learned with Audition, I use Audition, a lot of people use GarageBand. GarageBand probably has this feature as well and you all don't know it. If you have to go back and play back your podcast to listen to how you sound, they have features that can speed up your listening so you're not sitting there if an episode is 15 minutes long that you actually got to spend 15 minutes. You may be able to listen to a 15-minute show in less than 10 minutes. Just a matter of putting that time and that effort into doing it. At the end of the day, you want what you're doing to be good quality. And good quality means that you go in, have an agenda, have a plan, have an outline. Make sure if you're working with someone that they know what you're doing. I'll tell y'all, I'm going to be straight up because even with Dimitri not being on the show today, I'll say it, and he knows I'm honest in saying it. Coming up, I was the only child. So it's I'm spoiled, I can handle my own, I got this, I'm good. When in reality, it's like there are moments and there are times that getting help or having help never hurts. And believe, whether he realizes it or not, and I've said this to him on numerous occasions, having him as a co-host has been like literally a godsend, and it's been a helpful tool for me because it's taught me to be more organized and be more focused in working on my show. Because a lot of times I would just sit in front of the mic, start talking, and hope it all made sense. The advantage of doing that, the advantage to organizing it is because titles like these, like this episode right here, I have no notes. I have no information. I have no research that I'm really doing. But I've also done episodes where I've improv and the improv just went horribly wrong. So coming back to what I'm addressing with you all now is, if there's a topic that you're going to do, like if your episode is every Saturday, I literally say this to people. As soon as you hit stop and as soon as you finish like posting and uploading your episode, once you've gone on, like you've taken that day and you're like, all right, I'm posting on my social media, hey, I want y'all to check out my new show, da 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 da. That Sunday, if not that Monday, you should be preparing for your next week's episode. You should have who you're going to talk to. You should have what topics you're going to address. You should have whatever, if you're doing any research related to your topics, those things should kind of just come together. Like even with doing blogging, a lot of people don't realize a blog can be done. If you write a blog in an impulse moment, if I'm thinking, hey, I got something I want to talk about, I got a lot of things that I'm doing and it's stuff that I'm working on. So here's what I'm trying to do. So once you've gotten all of that done, like, you want to make sure that you don't leave your blog like dangling. Because I'm guilty of doing the dangling blogs or having blogs that are in the draft queue that shouldn't be drafts, that I should have wrote. The blog, I had the idea in my head on Wednesday. Here it is the following Saturday, and it's been 10 days and I haven't added or really modified anything from the original blog that I wrote. So then the quality isn't as crisp and the topic may not be as clear and concise from what I really wanted to address when I first had the topic on my mind. So things like that come into play when you're doing whatever you're working on, especially with podcasting. You know, like right now for me, my 3 that I've gotten close to is blogging, because I've done blogging before. Streaming, because a friend of mine does streaming, and I know a lot of people who are doing streaming, because I've tested the waters with streaming. And I've kind of learned what does work for me and what doesn't work for me, and where you have to be your own individual. And of course, podcasting. Like, I'm not, and I say this every time, and I even listen to podcasters who do shows every week or every, couple of days. And they'll tell you they're not perfect in what they're doing. And I'm not perfect with what I do. And I want people to hear me and see that and not realize, like, well, you seem like you got it down. No, I don't. I'm still learning. I'm always, if you stop learning in what you're doing, then it's time for you to stop doing it. I'm gonna let y'all sit on that for a second. Just let that marinate. As long as your mind is not willing to learn more, you're not giving your mind an opportunity to gain its full potential or its max potential. And sometimes we don't get that. And I know I'm kind of sidetracking a little bit, but like blended it into paying it forward, and me paying forward what I've learned and helping others like not do what I've done, because I've seen it be done before. I've seen it witnessed in live form, where when I first, like, and I even mentioned this when I did the podcast every day in April. My episodes I used to do 3 episodes a week, and all the episodes had no kind of a structure or a flow. It was just, all right, I'm gonna talk about these topics, and this is what I want to get into, because this is what I feel is worth hearing. And I didn't really get the backing for it at that time, because I didn't have a legitimate format. Now, it's been a year and a half, give or take. Now I sit and I make sure, okay, this is the topic I want to talk about today. These are the stories that I have for these topics. Here's what I'm going to use as a link, as a reference, but I'm not going to literally go A to Z in talking about these things. I may just have it there as a sidekick. So I'm just saying all of this, and I'm just sharing it all just to get everyone to understand that if you're really and truly into your brand or your craft or your skill, put your time into it. And even with me, I'm even accountable for this for myself. If it's stuff that I'm not doing right, or it's things, moments that I miss, tell me. I feel like we get so worried about not telling people how we feel about things because we feel like we're going to offend them. When in reality, all you're doing is just, you're enabling that person and not helping them get to their max potential as to what they really could be doing. And that's something that I feel as though we hurt ourselves in doing. And I'm going to say it because I really feel like it needs to be addressed. Black people don't like to see other black people succeed. And I don't understand why, because as long as we don't see each other succeed, we don't have a story to share with other black people, men or women. Because it's this whole, she did this and that's all right and that's cool, but what about what I'm working on? What about what you're working on? If you're doing something and you're getting your worth merit from it, what approval do you need from someone else? I can give you your approval, but me giving you my approval, like me approving what you're doing, is not going to confirm or solidify that you have a skill. That skill is going to be done on its own. If I push somebody's podcast and push somebody's show, and they never do a show ever, I'm not going to say every couple, I'm not doing none of the shade, nothing. I'm just saying general statement. If they're not doing their shows and they ain't did a show, period, that doesn't fall on me. I've done my part. And even on the same token, if I don't share the shows, that still means that person who has to record has to be available and able to record. So I'm just sharing this, it's a different show because I didn't really, like I said, I don't want to hit too many topics, because I had, there was one story that is being addressed and being talked about where the current internet status is under duress or under a concern, because they're having this thing called net neutrality I did post this not in the show notes, but I posted this as an image on my podcast page. So if you haven't checked out past podcasts on Instagram, definitely go check it out. You'll understand it. The image that they give kind of pinpoints it precisely, but here's kind of a short way of explaining it. We'll go with the big companies that I know have internet. Xfinity, I'll do Xfinity, and I'll do Xfinity, Verizon, Cox, HughesNet. We'll pick all those companies. All of them have internet service providers, or any internet service providers in the U.S. Those internet service providers allow everyday users like myself to get online and surf the internet. Now, internet usage, of course, for us it is not just consisting of our computers anymore. Internet usage now has expanded and become exceedingly higher because now you have individuals who are using the internet on their tablet, their laptop, their cell phone, their Xbox, their TV, since you have smart TVs, and all of these products using the internet is affecting companies, the big companies, in their internet usage. So what the big companies want to do is say, okay, we're not going to allow you to use the maximum amount of internet. We're going to allow you to use internet and allocate what internet can be used for what programs at what moment, at what time. Kind of like controlling your access to the internet. So in other words, if you're trying to access, let's say, YouTube.com, and YouTube has a peak point at a certain point of the day, they don't want that peak point to be utilized, so we're going to cut down on how YouTube is used in that time period, say from 5 to 6 in the evening. We'll cut that down and manage how and when it's used. And then as an end user, it's going to affect your data usage. And it's not going to affect your data usage. It's going to affect your internet usage and saying, you can't get on this site right now. Try something else. So it's going to be an intriguing story because they're doing petitions. I would have links for it, but like I said, what I'll do in the blog, when I post it on the past podcast page, I'll put the links there and go for it. Y'all, you speak on it, read it. They have a link that explains to you what internet neutrality means, and they also have an option on how to go in reference to signing and placing information about signing a petition or signing on the laws regarding net neutrality. I know that's like a random segue, but I wanted to at least get that out there because I love what I do, and I know folks who are doing this that I've seen do it. They love it as well, and I know it's not like if it becomes when you're doing something and you just feel like you're going through the motions and doing it, it's going to show in your end result. And I'm just sharing that with anyone because I don't want anyone to like. If you have that confidence and skill in knowing that what you're doing is great, go for it. Like, I'm gonna support you 100%. I'm gonna support anybody. Like, one of my friends who does graphic design, and he does design shirts and logos and things of that sort. I've known him probably, I would say, where we at? It was 2018. I've known him for at least 15 years, just about, give or take. And in that entire 15-year time span, I've seen him truly build and take a brand to its own culture and its own form. And it takes time. I mean, his story is the same application to anyone else. You got to start somewhere to get to a finish, and we sometimes forget that because all we see is the finish line, and we don't understand. In order for you to get to the finish line, it requires you to start the race, run the race, and finish the race. We just see the finish line, and we look at it like, oh, it's so far. But once you're there, if you look back, you're like, look at what I've done since moving forward. So those are my messages I'm leaving to you all today. I know this is like one of those, I don't want to say one-off podcasts, but it's a podcast that I truly like doing because this is kind of going to also prepare me for August because I'm going to tell y'all now, I'm honest, y'all know I'm always going to tell it like it is. We're halfway through July and I have not really sat and settled on topics for my podcast every day in August. Still looking to do interviews. I'm not one of those people who have to push people to do interviews. If anyone wants to join me or anyone is interested in joining me, I really would love to have folks on the show. I'm going to say this about my show personally. if you come on my show and you come with stupid topics or ignorant buffoonery, I won't address it, or I won't even acknowledge having you as a guest. And it's nothing personal. It's just I have content that I prefer for what I'm doing, and it's just where I'm at. So that's what I'm leaving with you all today. That's where my mind process is. That's where my thoughts flows are, and I hope you all are enjoying your Sunday. Your Sunday. I was about to say your Sunday. Your Saturday. If you have if you got your house in order, everyone's trying to work on their house, and everyone is constantly working to improve. So always remember, you may not see the finished product, but if you really have anyone that's concerned about what's going on, just tell them that you're a work in progress or that you're under construction. That's what I'm going to leave with y'all today. It's been good. It's been real. If you're not following on social media, Pass Podcast, PASS Podcast, one word. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, blog popping always. Like I said, I'm getting into archive mode where I'm going back to post older episodes, so just let it happen. And until next time, y'all take it easy. Peace.